Hey everyone, how you doing? I'm Lazlow the MST guy, and welcome to the show. So here's the story. I just moved into my new place when the doorbell rang. I answered the door only to be greeted by this charming looking robot. He asked if I was indeed Lazlow the MST guy. I confirmed that I was, and then he asked me for my autograph. I obliged him and signed his notepad. I was just about to close the door when suddenly I passed out. I woke on the ship and well, I think he's trying to cut in.
Greetings, world! I am Wizardo. I have kidnapped Lazlow the MST guy and am now forcing him to watch every episode of Mystery Science Theater ever made.
Yeah, you've mentioned that to me a few times. How exactly is forcing me to watch something that I already like to watch diabolical?
Well, you see, by forcing you to, well, you see, it's that you,
And why does this room look so similar to my old room back home?
Oh, that's easy. I didn't want you to get homesick. After all, I need you to be healthy for the duration of this experiment.
Oh, that's, very kind of you.
Please don't question my methods. I am a poorly written character.
Okay, so what do we do now? Today we're looking at Mystery Science Theater 3000, Episode 102, The Robot vs. the Aztec Mummy. The episode begins with Joel showing off his invention, the airbag helmet.
Motorcyclist, so I came up with this, the airbag helmet. What do you think?
Then the Mads show off their invention, the Chalk Man.
Every self-respecting scientist knows the sound of human fingernails on a chalkboard is most annoying.
With the invention exchange out of the way, we get movie sign and head into the theater. But before the movie starts, we get part 1 of the serial Commando Cody and the Radar Men from the Moon, which I believe this is the first short that's been shown on MST. Commando Cody stars late veteran actor George Wallace as the eponymous Commando Cody as he investigates a series of mysterious attacks.
Unable to detect the cause of these blasts, which have done
That guy
untold
mixing
damage.
drink.
With a little nudging from Mr. Henderson, Cody is soon on the trail of the attackers.
On the ground. And if you could get to the scene of the attack soon enough, you might be able to find some clue to the attackers.
Cody discovers the attackers' truck and scares them off.
Serial, Joel, not a movie.
Right.
A serial.
Let's get out of here.
Stupid.
Leave the ray gun? What else can we do?
Well, you could take the truck.
He takes their ray gun back to the lab when who would show up?
The bad guys?
That's right, Simon.
Take off for the moon next Wednesday.
A fight ensues, the scientists get knocked out, and the baddies retrieve the atomic chamber from the gun.
And don't try to follow us.
Realizing that the weapon could only have been built on the moon, Cody and his crew board their spaceship and take off for the moon.
Hardly know we were moving.
Well, believe it or not, we are. And a lot of miles per minute.
She's living up to the test we made. Set a course for the moon.
They fly through the sunny skies of space,
Sure is sunny in space.
and they land. Cody investigates the moon city when he's invited in by the ruler of the moon.
You are going in the right direction, Earthman.
How'd they know my
Enter
name?
the first door you come to.
He tells Cody about their impending invasion of Earth when another fight breaks out.
I can't stand.
Cody's about to be captured when we end part 1 and Joel and the bots leave the theater.
So, what happens next?
Sorry, Simon, it's a serial. You're just gonna have to wait till the next episode to find out.
Bummer. Hey, do you think Wizardo is taking us to the moon?
You know, that's a really good question. Let's ask him.
The moon? Ha! You make me laugh, feeble earthling. No, no, what I have planned for you is far more exciting than sending you to the moon.
Yeah, so?
In due time, Lazlow. In due time.
What is it, Joel?
Oh, I think I know what's wrong. Cambot, follow me over here. Look at them. They're seem like a bunch of demon dogs or
What are
something.
demon dogs?
Well, they're like chihuahuas, but without any flesh. And it looks like they're covering the ship. Follow me back.
Robot
Yay!
versus the Aztec mummy.
Ooh.
Our movie begins with an odd narration played over some stock footage.
An extraordinary experiment carried out by Doctors Hughes and Tooney.
When we cut to the arrival of these guys,
These are two guys with hats.
they're greeted by Flora and her husband, Dr. Almada.
Is your wife Flora?
Latimer.
Isn't
How
that
are you,
Floyd the
Pinky?
barber?
Fine, Doctor.
In what begins a series of flashbacks, he tells the men about the time he hypnotized Flora and she relived a past life when she lived among the Aztecs.
Perhaps.
To reason.
So they decided to run away.
It turns out she was in love with another Aztec named Popoca, but their love was forbidden and he was put to death.
As punishment, the warrior was buried alive, and an eternal curse was placed upon him,
Then she was sacrificed.
which were engraved with hieroglyphics, indicating where the Aztec treasure was hidden. Then they cut out her heart.
After Flora came to, she and Dr. Almada and a few of his associates went off to the Aztec temple to retrieve the artifacts that Flora had dreamt about. They find Flora's past skeleton still on the sacrificial table, and of course they find the artifacts that they were looking for.
Hachi, this is horrible to think I was she.
Upon returning to the temple, they find that Popoca has awakened and is now a mummy. During this host break, the guys are visited from Enoch, the leader of the demon dogs.
I am Enoch, king and charismatic leader of the dog people. Arf, arf. Cute. We have traveled many parsecs to pray to the giant bone and just maybe get a taste.
They rescue Flora and kill the mummy.
Suddenly held a cross up in front of its face.
Which was odd because he was Jewish.
We then find out that the evil Dr. Krupp, also known as the Bat, also went to the temple and he took the body of the mummy.
The Bat, who is really the infamous Dr. Krupp.
Oh.
He broke out of jail.
Dr. Almada is blackmailed into translating some artifacts for Dr. Krupp.
Are we the people of... Hey, this'll never work.
But wouldn't you know it, the mummy, looking for his missing artifacts, bursts into Dr. Krupp's lab and starts busting up the place.
Oh, it spawns right off.
He throws Dr. Krupp into a pit of rattlesnakes.
A pit full of rattlers.
Every good laboratory has a pit full of rattlers.
Then takes the artifacts and walks off.
But it was a good kind of tired.
The doctors return to Krupp's lab with the police only to find that Krupp had escaped.
Then, to our horror, we discovered that there was a small door in the back wall of the pit, through which the doctor could have escaped.
But if Krupp was thrown into a pit of rattlesnakes, how did he survive?
Oh, that's easy. Rattlesnakes aren't poisonous to humans.
Oh, hey Jerry, it's Wizardo. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go ahead and cancel that order of rattlesnakes.
So in yet another flashback, which is a few weeks after the previous flashback, Dr. Krupp stops outside Flora's house and calls her out to his car. In a fairly pointless scene, Flora takes Krupp to the ancient cemetery to see the mummy. After that, Krupp takes Flora home.
Then you go to sleep. And when you awaken, you act quite normally.
You will be refreshed and invigorated.
Do you understand? You won't recall a thing.
Dr. Almada deduces that Flora was taken during the night by Krupp, so he analyzes the mud on her slippers.
What a sleuth.
This strange attitude in Flora indicated that unscrupulous villain Krupp made her leave the house during the night.
It turns out his hunch was right, and he goes to the cemetery.
This is the last cemetery. We've seen all the others. If we don't find anything here, we'd better forget about it.
Oh, Simon, this movie is so slow. I think it's time for a host break.
Agreed.
During this host break, Crow dresses up as Enoch in an attempt to get the demon dogs to leave the ship.
No, my brow's all different. I'm just... No.
Oh, it's there. I see it. Hey, Joe, be sure to wet down his nose. Boy, if I were a demon dog, I'd just bow down and kneel and bow to you.
I'm already starting to miss that old Enoch.
All this I've just told you occurred almost 5 years ago.
We return to the doctor's house where we find out that this whole story he's been telling took place almost 5 years ago. But he isn't done yet with his story. Turns out a few days prior to the start of the film, the bat had been spotted. After a little investigative work, he finds the bat's lair.
Just in case we end up being murdered.
You mean to say you two are thinking of going there without taking the police along?
Yes.
Meanwhile, at the lair of the bat...
Pop rock seemed to be moving along nicely.
And in one of the most climactic scenes in the movie, the doctor and his sidekick are caught by the bat's men.
Freeze, you two.
This looks like it was shot with the security camera.
After a few minutes of exposition, Krupp begins to reveal his plan.
A breathing body, a real man. And I have made that dream come true. There you have the greatest creation of man's intelligence.
Cool.
A human robot doctor.
So the doctor, who spent almost 5 years working on this robot, is going to use the robot, as if you haven't already guessed, to fight the mummy. So he can get the artifacts that the mummy has, which will help him track down the ancient treasure of the Aztecs, so he can become rich.
Wouldn't it have made more sense for the doctor to apply what he's learned about biomechanics to help mankind?
Yeah, you would think he would have been able to get rich selling his knowledge to hospitals and stuff.
You really don't get how evil mad scientists work, do you?
So the bat flips some switches and turns some knobs, and the robot comes to life. The robot comes to life?
Floyd? Robot? Doctor? Good shot of me?
Do you have any jumper cables in your car or something? It's not working.
So the robot gradually starts his truck to the mummy's lair.
Put your right foot in.
The doctor and his sidekick escape the bat's henchmen and head to the cemetery to stop the bat and the robot and the mummy. And the fight begins.
Acting in slow motion, too.
Oh, that's something you hadn't counted.
Mommy! Mommy! Mommy!
Goodness.
Robot! 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 So the police shoot the remote control out of the bat's hand, the robot stops working, and the mummy beats the crap out of it. With the robot dead, the mummy turns on the bat, and he kills him. Flora takes the artifacts, gives them back to the mummy, and tells him to go back to the Aztec temple.
Before your skin went
Take
bad.
these objects that are yours to guard and go back to the grave of our ancestors.
Meanwhile, one of the demon dogs enters the theater, and Joel and the box make a very quick exit.
Isn't that a demon dog?
Demon dog?
For the final host segment, Joel and the bots are inundated with the demon dogs as they try to find a way to get them off of the ship.
Mixing media, it's obvious why he loves the fight. I spotted you coming a mile away. He's crushed.
I can see now that this completely isn't working. We gotta get rid of these things. Quick, check your files.
So there you have it, Mystery Science Theater 3000, episode 102, The Robot vs. the Aztec Mummy. This is not one of my favorite episodes. The bulk of the movie is pointlessly told through flashbacks. I'm not sure if they made the movie then realized it was a little short, so the movie makers retooled it using this flashback method, or if it indeed was written this way. Either way, the movie is just really boring and really slow. The host segments and riffing weren't bad, but unfortunately they just aren't enough to save this episode for me. Overall, if you're a fan of Mystery Science Theater, this episode is worth checking out at least once. You can get your copy in volume 15 from the Shout Factory. Now in my next episode, I'll be looking at Mystery Science Theater 3000, episode 103, The Mad Monster, the 1942 sci-fi horror film about werewolves and revenge. As always, if you have any questions or comments, you can email me at lazlowmstguy@gmail.com or head over to lateoffproductions.com and check out some of our other shows. So until next time, I'm Lazlow, the MST Guy, and I'm your host for all things Mystery Science Theater 3000. Any final thoughts, Simon?
Ooh, do you think they have Burger Kings in space?
I doubt it, Simon. I doubt it.
Oh yes, Simon, they do, but none for you.
Final thoughts, Simon? I doubt it, Simon. I doubt it.
Be quiet out there.
That was impeccable timing, Taylor. Alright, and do it again.
Yes. Lay down.
I don't know if it picked that up. Oh, Taylor.
Oh, no! Lay down.
Go lay down, Taylor. Go lay down.